What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert, and I am so pleased to have you with me today. So just before we get into the show, I just want to say thank you because I had a surgery a couple of weeks ago. This is my first live show after the surgery, and I have had so many of you reach out and just send like wishes for healing and all of that kind of stuff. So I just want to really thank you. It means the world to me that our team here at Inspired Choices Network is so supportive, and some of the fans actually reached out. So thank you so much. If you were one of them, I so appreciate the time and the energy and just that little effort. It's amazing how something so small can mean so much to a person, isn't it? So what could we do to do more of that? All right. So we're on Time to Rise and Thrive. And on our show, every single Friday, we talk about things like our subliminal soundtrack, about starting to understand and recognize your unique gifts, your beauty, your value, the contribution that you are to the world. So if you are in a place where you need to start thinking about these things in a bit of a different way, you are absolutely in the right place. And I would encourage you to come back every Friday, 1 p.m. live Eastern. We are on Inspired Choices Network. And also you can find us on your favorite on-demand channels too. Isn't that exciting? She's got us on something like 250 or maybe even more different platforms at this point. So if you are watching the show and you think, maybe I need to hear a little bit more about this, there have been some really amazing shows, particularly this year. So go to your favorite on-demand platform, channel, whatever it is, go to inspiredchoicesnetwork.com and look up Jackie Mott, Mindset and Empowerment Expert, or look up Time to Rise and Thrive, and you will find all of the recordings. It is something that brings me so much joy to have these conversations about empowerment, about self-love, about all kinds of stuff. So today we are talking about something that's been sort of a theme over the last month or so. We've been talking about this decision-making process, choice versus decision, the energy, the things that you need to consider as you are making sort of a decision process in your life. And today we're going to wrap it all up with a pretty little bow and talk about this thing called commit. Go get it. We're going to be talking about how important it is for us to follow through, what it does when we don't follow through, the things that creates, the things that could be blocking you from moving forward. That is what today's show is all about. And I got to tell you, I'm excited about this one. It's so funny because sometimes when I'm getting prepared, I think it's going to look a certain way, and then it kind of shows up in a bit of a different way. And that's what happened today. So the stuff that we're going to be talking about is very, very important when you are in this place of, it doesn't seem to matter how hard I try. Has that ever happened to you? It doesn't seem to matter how hard I try. I just keep going at it and trying and trying and trying, and I never get anywhere. Oh, honey, if that's a space that you are in the right place today. So let's talk about this thing. What does it take to get what you want out of your life? There is this thing that we talk about all the time. We talk about it on the show, but you hear about it all over the place, right? Now it's this terminology called manifesting. So manifesting can be a bit of a confusing process because there are people out there who just sort of go, okay, well, just meditate about things and, just believe in them and all of that sort of stuff. There are steps that you need to take when you're manifesting. And when we don't take action, often that thing, it's not, how do I want to say this? So if you think about like the bibbity bobbity boo, bing, you've got what you want. That's generally not exactly how things work in real life. But when we go through this process and we actually take action, that's when things will come. Okay. So that's what we're talking about today on the show. So what happens when we don't follow through? What happens to our spirit, our belief about ourselves, all of that kind of stuff we can actually, so this is where the subliminal soundtrack comes in. So I'm going to give you a bit of an explanation in case you're new to the show so you understand what we're talking about. Subliminal soundtrack is my terminology for this loop of messages that plays in the back of our minds all day, every day. It's made up of little bits of information that we've picked up and collected over the course of our lives. So every conversation you've ever had, every relationship you've been part of, every lesson you've learned, every single circumstance in your life has given you little bits of information that have been stored on that subliminal soundtrack. And we use that information to create our belief systems. So, what does it mean to love or be loved? What does it mean to have money or not have money? What does it mean? All of those things are based on the information that's back there on that subliminal soundtrack. So, the good news is that we can change this. Okay, we have to do a little bit of work. We have to sort of work with what we've got, figure out where it's helping, where it's hindering, and then go at it to create new messages that will propel us toward the things that we do desire, that will help us with those breakthroughs, with those, you know, climbing over that thing that's in the way. All of that is based on this thing. So, two very important pieces of information about this, I find it absolutely fascinating, is that what we believe to be true will be true for us, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. That's the first one. Second one is those belief systems. We create our circumstances to support the belief systems that we carry. This is why the subliminal soundtrack is so very important. When we start to work with that and change those messages to believing that things are possible for us, to creating things that are more supportive, more loving, more honoring of ourselves. When we do that, things start to shift. And very often it doesn't really take as much effort to shift them as we might expect, because what happens is the relationships, the people that we are no longer aligned with, they sort of fall away. It's this thing that happens where it's, we don't really have that much in common. So maybe we'll talk once in a while, but we're not going to be in close contact with each other because we're not really in the same space anymore. So that's something we'll get to in a few minutes. But when we talk about this subliminal soundtrack, here's two sort of varying ideas with this. If you believe that the things that you want in your life are either out of reach or unavailable to you, you will very likely not even try to go after them. But if you believe that things are available, that you're the person who gets to choose what you have, what you create, all of those sorts of things, then instead of letting those things pass you by, you're going to get busy trying to find those resources, looking for the people, the support systems, maybe the finances, the education, whatever it is that can help you get to that thing. So a really easy way to picture this is if you're standing here on this on a cliff, okay, you're on a cliff over here, and there's another cliff over there. So there's this great big gap between you. You see there the thing that you want. It could be anything. It could be a car, it could be a job, could be a relationship, could be a trip, could be anything. But you see that thing over on that other cliff, and you can almost taste it. You can almost touch it, but you can't get to it. If you are in this space where you believe that things aren't available to you, then you're going to probably do one of two things. You are going to look at that thing and maybe you're going to get really, really sad or depressed because you can't have it. It's over there. I can't get to it. Right? So it's like in a store when you can't reach the shelf or something. I can't quite get to it. You're going to either get really sad and depressed about this thing, or you're going to do maybe that for a few minutes and go, okay, well, it's not available. So I'm going to go over here and try to do something different. But if you are in the mindset that, you know what, I can see that thing, that means it's possible for me. That means I can have that thing. I just don't know how yet. Okay. Do you see the difference in those two ways of being? One is saying, there's no point in trying. The other one is saying, oh, well, it's there. It's there. Now, what do I need to do? Okay. And then you're going to get busy looking for those resources. You're going to find the people that can help you build that bridge so that you can get to that thing. All right. So that's sort of a nutshell thing of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the subliminal soundtrack. So here's how this thing sort of works. Oh, and I'm going to tell you actually before we get into that part. JackieMott.com is my website. You can go there. There is a download for a free guidebook that is called 5 Steps to Create a Mindset Wired for Success. So if this is something that you're struggling with, that resource gives you all of the steps that I walk through with my clients. It gives you a lot of information. Go grab the guidebook. If it's something that you feel like you would like some support with, or you'd like to have a conversation, by all means, reach out to me. There are all kinds of programs coming once I'm back on my feet after this surgery, which is coming. I'm feeling so much better. Yay. Anyway, there are things that are coming up. There's going to be some programs that are coming up in the very near future. I just need to get there. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's available to me. I can do that thing. I just need to get there. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. So go grab that guidebook, have a read, share it if you like. It's a free resource. All you have to do, I think, you put in your email address and whatnot. This is the thing that I love to do the most. Subliminal soundtrack, it fascinates me. And it's so interesting to watch because people can shift things so quickly when they're working with the right, that right tool for the job. They're working with the right tool for the job. Sometimes you can shift things in a heartbeat. It's awesome. Okay. So with this manifesting idea, and that's really kind of what we're talking about and what we've been talking about on the last several shows. It's that manifesting those things that you choose to have, that you desire to have in your life. What is really required? So the number one thing we've already been talking about for the last few minutes, the number one thing is that subliminal soundtrack. The belief systems that you have need to tell you that it's possible. They need to tell you that you are worthy and deserving. They need to tell you that you can do whatever is required. Okay. So your subliminal soundtrack, that needs to be there. If it's not there right now, you can fix it. Go grab that guidebook. Talk to me. We can talk about anything. But remember, it's very important to remember what we believe to be true will be true for us, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. If you're coming from a belief system that is like in a lack place, and this often happens when people have come from a place of poverty in their lives, or when they've lost things, like lost a good paying job or whatever, maybe lost a spouse or a relationship that provided some financial security. When we are coming from those places of lack, you're going to create more lack. That is a fact. Okay. So you will create a lack of the things that you want when you are in this space of lack. When we get into this space of possibility, everything is open. The truth of the matter is, one of the things that we don't really understand about our mind is that it's limited. So the mind is limited to the information it's already collected over the course of your life, the lessons that you've learned, the things that people have taught you, especially when you were very young. Okay. So it's limited by that information because that's what it knows to be true. That is the experience that it has. But the truth of the matter is that there are literally millions of possibilities out there. You may not be aware of them right now. You may not have experience with them right now, but they are out there. There are millions of people on this planet. How many people do you need to help you? I don't know. 1, 5? How many people do you need to help you get there? Do you see what I'm saying? Possibility. Is it possible for you to find that 1, 2, 3 people? Absolutely. There are millions of people on the planet. There are millions of opportunities that are out there and possibilities that are available. And when we get into that space of how can I make this happen, not I can't make this happen, then everything opens up. Everything opens up. And then we start to get that information. Maybe you meet somebody at a barbecue or at church or at school or whatever. Do you see what I'm saying? It's exciting. It's very exciting to get into the space of, what could happen here? How could I find those people? How could I find that money? How could I find those resources? Possibility. Okay. So when we come at things from this place of possibility, of course, what do? We create more possibilities for ourselves, more opportunities for ourselves. So if you consider this thing that we just talked about, that thing where I'm on this side of the cliff and the thing that I really, really, really would like to have is right there. Think about that. If I'm coming at this from the space of lack and it's not possible, I'm going to be that first person who's going to say, well, not available, go do something else. If I'm coming at it from that other place of possibility, then those people are going to show up. Those resources are going to become available to me. So this is very, very important when we talk about our manifestation process. It's not just about dreaming and wishing. It is about taking action. So you have to go get it. You have to be prepared to commit to whatever your process is. And it could be shifting that mindset. It could be getting an education. You need to commit to whatever process is there in order to make that happen. Okay. So we're going to head to our first break. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. Again, I'm Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. When we come back, we are going to continue this conversation. We're going to talk about what gets us stuck. How do we get stuck in this space where things just aren't happening? We're going to talk about that in just a moment. So stick with us. We will be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about commit. Go get it. Yes, it's very exciting, okay? Because one of the things that we're gonna focus on in a few minutes is this thing that I call radical personal responsibility. It is something that it can be confusing for other people to understand what I'm talking about. So what I'm talking about is that if I choose to, now again, let's think about that mindset stuff, okay? If I choose to be a person who is a victim of the circumstances, the people, the things that have gone wrong in my life up to now, if I choose to live in a victim mindset, a victim mentality, then I will keep rolling around in that and I will use it. I mean, it might be an amazing excuse for why I don't achieve the things, right? It can be an absolutely amazing excuse. And if you're somebody who really likes that space, okay, have at her. I don't choose to live there. I choose to live in the space of responsibility. So, okay, what happened? What's my part in this? Where did I go wrong? Or where did I get caught up in something that wasn't helpful? That is your personal responsibility. And when you live from radical personal responsibility, you will be empowered. Okay. I am responsible for the choices I make. I'm responsible for the mistakes. I'm responsible for the circumstances that I create. Doesn't mean that I'm at fault for. Doesn't mean that I'm to blame for. It means that I am responsible for myself. I am responsible to make choices that will go in a different direction. If I don't like this result, then I'm responsible to choose to go over here instead and do something different. Do you see what I'm saying? And if I choose to stick with this thing that's not working, that's okay. I like no judgment whatsoever. I lived there for a long time, a long, long time. But if I choose to continue to allow this thing to happen, then am I really a victim? It's a thing. Okay. I know it's kind of harsh, but it's a real thing. Am I really a victim if I choose to allow it to continue? Okay. Now back on track. So let's just get real about this whole thing. Okay. What keeps us stuck? What keeps us stuck in this place of, I try so hard. And man, I have been there. Okay. So I'm not faulting anybody, but I try so hard and it doesn't matter what I do. I never get the results that I'm looking for. What keeps us there? So let's really be clear. There are sometimes circumstances that come up that are completely unexpected or completely outside of our control. Pandemic happened, right? That put a stop on a few things. There are things that come up, right? It could be a health issue. It could be something happens with a spouse. It could be something happens with a parent or a child. There are often these circumstances that come into play that are completely outside of our control. Okay, they're not our fault. That we're not to blame for them. We didn't create them, but there they are. So when I was thinking about this morning, I was thinking about this thing that happened years ago. So I had originally when I was a mom. So again, mom at 17, single mom, all kinds of challenges that come up with that. 17 years old, taking care of a child, all of that kind of stuff. So at a certain point, I decided that I needed to go back to school. I needed to go and do something so that I could get off the welfare and I could start to create a better life for my son and for myself. So I went to talk to a local university and they registered me for this course. It was a social work course. Okay. And they had the funding available that like the funding would have been done under my financial circumstances at that time and where I was in my life. Funding would have, my education would have been free. Something came up in my personal life that caused me to feel like I would not be able to take care of my responsibilities in my life and follow through on that education. I wouldn't be able to put enough into it. Now, I don't regret much. Okay, there are not a lot of things that I regret in my life, but I will tell you that that's one of those points that I wish that I could go back and turn around and make a different decision, because had I done that, so many things would have been different. Now I can't change it. There's no point in beating myself up over it. But what I was working from in that time in my life and in that space was a lack of belief in myself. I had a lack of belief in myself and all kinds of other things like worthiness, deserving, financial lack. There were all kinds of those circumstances that were happening in my life at the time. And because I didn't understand the subliminal soundtrack then, I bought into those things. I listened to the people who were like, oh my God, it's going to be so hard for you to go to school and take care of a child. Yeah, it's complicated, whatever. Could I have done it? I could have done it. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't believe it at the time, but I could have done it. So that's the kind of thing that gets us stuck. Do you see what I'm saying? It gets us stuck because we have this mindset that tells us that we're not capable of it. I'm reading a book right now. A lady, we're going to have her as a guest 2-3 weeks. I can't remember what the date is. Her name is Rebecca Contreras. She's a multimillionaire in the States, and she worked her way from poverty and lack and addiction in her what do you call that? The family of origin, is that, I think that's the terminology people use. And she's talking about this point, like she's right around this turning point. That's where I'm at in the book. And she's talking about her belief systems. This person that she's fallen in love with is a wonderful person. And he's got these qualities and he's got this and this and this. I'm a single mom. I've got this history of addiction. I've got this and this and this going on. How could he ever possibly want me? Thank God. Thank God. I already know this, right? I haven't gotten there yet, but I already know this. Thank God that she allowed for that possibility, because she may have slammed the door on that and her life would have been completely different. Do you see what I'm saying? So we have these moments of doubt. It is a perfectly normal thing to have moments of doubt. But when that subliminal soundtrack is wired the right way, and when we have created a tribe of people who support us and help us to understand who we are, what we bring to the world, when we have done that work to build that kind of foundation, what happens is very often those people aren't coming to you and going, oh, it's going to be so hard. They're not doing that. What they're doing is going, okay, you've got this. You've got this, and I'm here. You let me know what you need. I'm here. Totally different way of being, right? And it will produce different results in our life. So when you've got those people who are supporting you and who see you, okay, who see you as you really are, without all of the doubt and whatever else. Like for me, there was all kinds of stuff. There was grief, there was shame, there was so much tied up in that messy belief that I had about myself, that incorrect belief that I had in myself. Because here's the thing, I was still smart. I was still hardworking. I was still ambitious. I was still funny. I was still all of the things that I had been prior to deciding to have that child and raise him. I was exactly the same person. There were some factors that, maybe complicated things or made them a little bit more tricky. I could still do exactly the same things that I could have done before. Would I have to work around different circumstances? Sure. Doesn't mean that I couldn't have done it. Do you see what I'm saying? It's all wrapped up in what we believe to be true about ourselves. That is what causes us to make choices, to make decisions about every single thing that happens in our lives. So what I want to talk about before we head to our break is this. When you have a person in your world who habitually breaks their promises or their commitments, and you're expecting, especially if it's something that you need that person to follow through for whatever reason, it could be financial, it could be you need them to do something, because without that piece coming into place, the whole thing comes apart. You know that? Yeah. So when you have a person in your world who habitually breaks that promise, breaks that commitment, what happens? We can start to believe, and rightly so, we can start to believe that we can't really trust that person. Their words and actions don't match up. We can't really trust them to do what they said they were going to do. And that is absolutely correct based on the circumstances, isn't it? Right. It can also cause us to have feelings like, I must not really matter to that person. I must not really matter. So that piece is one of those things that's yours. Okay. That person may really care for you. They just might be unreliable. Okay. So don't put all of your judgment on you because somebody else doesn't follow through. But there's the other thing. Okay. The other side of this is that when we start to habitually not do the things that we said that we were going to do, how do you think that affects your perception of you? If I habitually say, oh, I'm going to do this, and then I don't follow through, or maybe I start it and stop and give up or whatever, and I do that over and over and over and over again, what am I reinforcing for myself? I am reinforcing that I am unreliable. I am reinforcing that I can't seem to do it no matter what I do, right? I'm giving myself that out, that excuse, that beautiful excuse of, I just couldn't do it. Is that true? That's the piece that you need to get clear on, okay? Is that true? Do you have the ability? Do you have the resources? Could you find them? That's the thing, okay? So what happens when we do that to ourselves? We begin to create or reinforce those messages on that subliminal soundtrack that tell us these negative judgments about ourselves. I can't do it. I tried and I tried. I can't do it. Do you see what I'm saying? So we give up. And we start to believe about ourselves that maybe we are unreliable. Maybe we are incapable. Maybe we aren't smart enough. When you start to approach your life from a place of, I'm not smart enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not whatever enough, I'm not enough, is what you're saying. You want to be really careful with that kind of messaging, because that kind of messaging can cause you to sabotage yourself and create a very unpleasant life. Okay. So if that's where you're at right now, please call me. Please reach out to me on Facebook. You can find me there, Jackie Mott, Mindset and Empowerment Expert. Please send me an email through my website or jackie@jackiemott.com. If you are in that place where you truly feel like you are not enough, please ask for help. I'm here. I would love to support you. And it would bring me so much joy to help you shift that mindset so you understand just how beautiful and amazing and wonderful you are. The contribution that you are to the world just by being here. We can't always see that. Sometimes we need help. I'm here. I would love to help you with this. So please, please reach out if you find yourself in that place. So the last thing that I'm going to say about this, and you're going to find this if you go to jackiemott.com and get that guidebook, you're going to find this information right in that guidebook. But the first thing that we need to do when we're working on shifting that subliminal soundtrack is we need to ask ourselves, are these things true? So am I unreliable because I never follow through? Is that true? If it's true, do you want it to continue? Do you want to continue to be that way? Or what do you need to do? What do you need to do to change that? You need to follow through on something, right? Maybe you need some support, maybe you need some help, but it's not that hard to shift these things. When we have the appropriate tools, when we have the right support, it's not that hard to shift those beliefs and start to create something totally different. Remember what I said right at the beginning of the show? When we shift those things, we align with different people in different circumstances. What was acceptable before is no longer acceptable. We don't tolerate being treated poorly. All of that kind of stuff shifts. So if you are in that space, please reach out to me. I would love to help you. On that note, we need to go to our next break. While we are on that break, I would highly, highly recommend, if you're able to, grab yourself a pen and paper, because this is where we go into the what do I need to do? How do I do this? Okay, so grab that pen and paper. If you are not in a position where that is possible for you right now, go find us again on that on-demand channel that you love, or on inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Go find us and come back. Then you can listen to it as many times as you need to, pause, make notes, whatever you need to do. So grab that pen and paper if you can. And I'm gonna take us to that break, and we will see you back here in just one moment.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about commit. Go get it. Yes. So I just want to share with you a few things that are happening in my world right now. As I was saying right at the top of the show, I've just had surgery a couple of weeks ago. I'm feeling a lot better than I have in a very long time. This illness lasted for about 3 years. And one of the things that when we're talking about life happening, I had managed to sort of stumble through and kind of crawl through where I needed to for a very long time. And I had done that because I had medical support, because, you know, the antibiotics were working. And what I had not expected to happen was at the beginning of this year, those antibiotics stopped working. So instead of having like low points and then being okay and low points, I was in this constant state of struggling with an infection in my body that it was very difficult. It made me feel very ill. And at the beginning of the year, I had all of these plans, right? I'm like, ooh, new year, fresh, clean slate. What am I going to accomplish this year? What am I going to do? What am I going to create? Do you see what I'm saying? And then that happens. So life sometimes does throw us a curveball. There's nothing we can do. I kept going to the very best of my ability. I got things done that had to get done. Thank God. I met all of my deadlines. Everything worked out okay. But the extra stuff that I wanted to do didn't actually happen. One of which was I've been writing this book for a while, and I had decided that I was going to have it written and published by April. I wasn't thinking about things very well because April 30th is my income tax deadline and I do taxes, right? So it wasn't quite realistic for me to hit that date, but that's what I set up. I was going to have it written and published by April 21st. Awesome. There were other things. There's this thing that I've been playing around with in my head for such a long time. It is called monthly mindset masterclasses. So the idea of this is that it's going to be a group call, probably on Zoom, something like that. There'll be a Facebook group, blah, 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 whatever it comes together. I don't have the whole picture yet, but I wanted to start that in January. And the idea is that as a group, we will talk about one mindset issue each month. So we will talk about, you know, our perception of ourselves, some of the stuff that we're talking about today on the show. We will talk about those things once a month. We'll get together on the Zoom. We'll have some exercises and questions to answer and all of that kind of stuff. Now, I'm being told, in all honesty, I'm being told by people that this is absolutely ridiculous pricing, and it probably is. But I am someone who has come from a place of I really needed help and I really didn't have a lot of money. So I want to make this part of my business available to people. So that one is going to be probably $97 a month. It might even be lower than that. So I'm going to share with you as we get closer to that starting. And that will be one of those things that you can tap into and you don't need a lot of money. Sometimes we need support. We don't have the ability to pay for it. There are other programs. And I mean, if you've got money and you want to spend it, I've got all kinds of stuff that I can do to help you. But I also am conscious of that there are some people who need support that aren't able to afford it. So that is going to be coming out probably in September or in the fall at some point. And we're going to start doing those things live. It is going to be so much fun for me. Again, this was something that I wanted to do in January. I wanted to start running this at the end of January. I've got all the plans, I've got all the information, but what I didn't have was the energy. What I didn't have was the strength, the health to be able to follow through on that. So life does happen. It throws us curveballs, and sometimes those circumstances again are completely outside of our control. We have to muddle through the best we can, and we have to be kind to ourselves, okay? I could have picked up the stick and gone, "Oh my God, Jackie, oh my God, you said you were going to have that book published by April 21st. You dropped the ball, you didn't do it." I could have done that. What I did was I practiced radical personal responsibility. And I said, okay, so why didn't I meet that deadline? Why didn't I meet that? Well, there were these factors that came up that I wasn't really expecting. And maybe I wasn't really all that realistic. I'm not going to beat myself over the head. What I'm going to do is I'm going to course correct. I'm going to say, okay, because I'm still working on it. It's still going. It's just not done when I want it to be done. Course correct. Do you know that rockets are off course 95% of the time? They're on their way to the moon. They are course correcting constantly to get there. It's okay for you to run up against a challenge or an obstacle and say, okay, this now maybe is going to take a little bit longer than I thought it would. It's okay. Or you can say, oh my God, Jackie, you're such a dummy. You didn't make that deadline. Give up. No. There was a time when maybe that would have happened. Now, from this space of empowerment, from this space of, I know who I am. I know, do you see what I'm saying? I know myself in a completely different way than I did even a year ago, even 2 years ago. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm a different person than I understood myself to be. And now, from that place of empowered belief in myself and knowing who I am and what I bring to the table, changes everything. It is changing everything. So now Kim has actually said, she's a producer today. She's like, now you're going to be unstoppable. And she's absolutely right. She's absolutely right. I need to get my strength back. I need to take care of myself, but there is so much that I want to do. There's so many things that I want to bring to the table and bring to the world. So yes, once we get past this blip, adjust and course correct. The dates are different. That's it. Do you see what I'm saying? So don't pick up that stick. If that's the only thing that you take away from today's show, don't pick up that stick and start beating yourself over the head. Be responsible, change where you need to, own what you need to. It's all good. You're going to get there. So now we're going to get into, now that I've gone blah, 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 about all kinds of other stuff that wasn't on the list of our tips, we'll go through the tips that I actually wrote out for you. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a gut check. So what has happened to me multiple times, and I'm sure it happens to a lot of other people, is you're talking with somebody and you say, you know, I'm thinking about something. And that person says, oh my God, you should, right? It happens all the time, right? And they mean well. I'm not saying, like, there's no judgment about that. Thank you. Thank you for caring enough to have an opinion that you're willing to share with me. So this happened actually maybe 2 years ago. I was talking with one of my very close friends, and we were talking about this coaching thing and the speaking thing and all of that sort of stuff. And she said to me, you know, I think you should go back to school. I think you should go back to school and get like a psychologist degree or something like that. I think you should go back to school. And I said, thank you. But I knew immediately that did not feel like, for me, I mean, I'm sure it made sense and it's not a bad idea at all. For me and my current circumstances where I'm at in my life, nope, that's not something that I would choose for myself. So do your gut check. Is that idea even something that it feels right for you? That's your first gut check. Next thing you're going to do is do your research. So when you do your research, you're looking for the details. So what's required? Do I need to have a certain level of education? Do I need to have a certain amount of money? Do I need to have, what do you need to have? What are the resources? What is it going to cost you? Time, energy, money. Those are your resources that you are really considering. Time, energy, money are all non-renewable. I mean, money might be, but time, money, and energy are the things that are your resources that you really need to protect. Okay. So what's required? Do I need help working through my old baggage? Do I need help with that subliminal soundtrack stuff that's caused me to stop and start and stop and start and stop and start throughout my life? Um, what is it? Yeah, time, money, and energy. Now, this one I'm going to share with you really quickly. So I've been a bookkeeper for a long time. I do income taxes and a long time. I mean, we're talking, I don't know, 20 plus years now. I've been doing this kind of work. There was a time, probably 15 years or so ago, where I was sitting back and I was thinking, because I'm smart, and I don't say that to be arrogant, it's true. So I had learned so much about doing this work and from the accountants that I had worked with, and I had learned so much. And then I'm talking to one of the accountants and I found out what they were charging and I knew what I was charging. And I was like, but I'm doing all the work. I'm the one doing all the work. Like, so of course that caused me to think about things and say, I wonder what it would take for me to actually get that accountant title. So I looked into it. I did my research. I found whatever it was, a group and a school and a blah, blah, whatever it was. I found these people and I met with somebody and I said, okay, so here's my circumstances. I'm going to have to keep working, which means I'm going to have to do this on a part-time basis. What does it look like? So what we understood was, first and foremost, I have a college diploma. Here in Canada, we don't call it a college degree. There's a difference between a degree and a diploma. So I have a college education. I do not have a university education. In order for me to pursue that, it would be necessary for me to go back to university and get a degree. Okay. And most of them are 4 years. So I may have been able to shave some of that off, but that was my first step. On a part-time basis, that could take me 8 years. It could take me 10 years, could be 5. I mean, it's hard to say, right? But at minimum, we're looking at 4 or 5 years just for that stage. Plus, then there's other courses and there's other exams and there's other certifications that have to happen on top of that before I could get to the end and call myself a full-fledged accountant. So what this person shared with me was she thought it would take at least 10 years and at least $100,000 in order for me to get there. So I sat with that for a little while and I went, that doesn't make sense to me. I was almost 40. So I'm thinking, okay, 10 years puts me to 50. I've got to make back the $100,000 that I've invested before I can even call this a profitable decision. And then I've got what, 15 years, maybe 10, 15 years to work after that. It's not worth it. I'll keep doing what I'm doing. What I'm doing right now is fine. So again, gut check and what's involved. What is required? What would it take for me to get from where I am right now to that thing on the other side of the cliff, right? What would it take for me to get there? Do I want it badly enough to put that in? Very important to ask yourself. Is this something I'm prepared to do? So and are there other options? Are there other things that could get you there? Okay. So with a degree, of course, there aren't really a whole lot of other options, but maybe there's a thing that you could do in your work. If it's not something that requires a degree, then maybe you could go and get a job working in a field that would help you to gain a skill set or experience in that field. Do you see what I'm saying? So are there other options? So next we are going to do another gut check, because now we have all of the information. What is it going to take for me to get there? Do another gut check. Another gut check. Am I willing to do that? Does it still feel like that's the right direction? Or could I do it in a different way? Or is that even the right thing for me? Do you see what I'm saying? So do a second gut check now that you have all of that information. And then number 5 is to take action. So commit to it and go get it. That is the piece that so many of us miss when we're talking about manifesting. So what I want to share with you right now is that I have decided, and this is sort of a thing that's been coming up lately, the first 5 people who reach out to me, go to www.bookacallwithjackie.com. The first 5 people will get a session with me. It's called the Unstoppable You Intensive Session. It is 1 hour. Value is $197. You will get that as my gift to you for taking action. So once again, if what we talked about before is true and you are functioning from that place of I am not enough, there you go. www.bookacallwithjackie.com. Okay, go there. The first 5 people will get the Unstoppable You intensive session with me as my gift to you for actually taking action. Now we are coming right down to the wire here. We've only got a few more minutes, so I've got to try to get through all the rest of this for you. Or maybe this will be one of those monthly mindset masterclasses. See, shift, course correct. It's fun. It's so much fun. Okay. So remember when we were talking about this thing about being like becoming an accountant or becoming a social worker or whatever it was, and I mean you have your own circumstances. The thing that surprised me about today's show was I didn't expect it to be so related to career, and I want to be really clear, it doesn't have to be career related for these things to apply. Okay, it can be, and in my life clearly it has been. A lot of that stuff has been. So sometimes life happens, we get sidetracked. There's nothing we can do about that. If a loved one becomes ill or if something shifts on you and you need to change your direction in order to hold things together, that's okay. If you need to rest, like I have had to be conscious of my health this year, rather than as much as I would like to be running 90 miles an hour with my hair on fire, sharing all of this wonderfulness with the world. If you need to rest, then you need to rest. And by doing that, you'll come back even stronger. So when we have those things come up, sometimes it can be one of those, a sign. It's a sign that I'm not meant to move forward. You are the only person who can decide what is right for you and what is not. So always be paying attention to that gut check, checking in with yourself. Does this still feel like the right thing for me? Does it still feel like I'm moving in the right direction, or am I completely off track? Or am I in that position of I don't know what I'm doing wrong and I need to talk to somebody that maybe can help me with those things? Check in with yourself all the time as you're going through any of this. And please do not beat yourself up. Be honest. What could I have done differently? What if this is mine to own? What could I have done differently? Where did I get hung up or caught up in something that wasn't helpful? What have I done? Okay. Own that and use that information to help you move forward in a different way, in a better way, in a wiser way. That's all you have to do. Drop the stick, man. Drop the stick. Don't pick it back up. Leave it right there and get on with your life. So forgive yourself and just get over it. That's it. That's the last thing I've got for you today. Just forgive yourself. Put the stick down. Allow yourself the space to do whatever you need to do. You can do it. You can do it. If I can do this, anybody can. 17-year-old Jackie became a mother and everything changed. And if I'd stayed in that mindset, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. All right. You can do this, whatever it is that you choose. So that's what I have for you today, my friends. That's what I have for you. So the quote that I would like to leave you with: we create from our subliminal soundtrack and the messages we carry. When your soundtrack is full of messages that tell you that you can't, that it's not possible, or that you don't deserve it, or whatever, you will very likely not take action. And if you do, you will sabotage yourself and reinforce those messages. If you're stuck, if you feel like you keep trying, but you can't ever break through, if you feel like you're not deserving or worthy of having what you desire, addressing your subliminal soundtrack is very likely what you need to work on. When you shift your mindset, your entire life can shift. I am living proof of that, my friend. So it's all about what you choose. Take action. What do you choose? Don't forget www.bookacallwithjackie.com. First 5 of you to take action and book that Unstoppable You intensive session with me, you'll get it free of charge as my gift to you for taking action. Okay, so if you need help, go there, talk to me. I'm here. We can do it. If you need help, I'm here. All right. So we will be back next week. We will be back next week. Next week's show is called, what is it called, Kim? Oh, who am I? We're going to be talking about one of the most vital steps to learning to truly love yourself. It's going to be a very good show. So I hope you can join me back here again on Inspired Choices Network on Time to Rise and Thrive next Friday. I'm Jackie Mott. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.